Welcome. I am so glad you're here. I'm Laureen Quick, and I work with women who are over 50 and they are in a place where they are navigating change. Not always the dramatic kind, but the quieter realizations that something no longer fits, something no longer works, even when life looks fine from the outside. This conversation is a part of the Next Chapter Summit, a gathering for women navigating change, reinvention, and renewal after 50. It's a space for honest conversations, the kind that don't gloss over what's hard, but don't stay stuck there either. So many women in midlife are successful, capable, and deeply committed. Yet in their closest relationships, they are overgiving, self-silencing, or quietly carrying a loneliness that they have learned to normalize. And that's why I'm really glad to be joined today by Cori. Cori is a coach who works with people ready for real conversations, the kind that change how we relate, love, and show up with others. Having reinvented her own life in the second half of life, Cori brings personal wisdom, clarity, and a deep respect for truth over comfort. What you're about to hear isn't a lesson or any kind of roadmap. It's a conversation, grounded, honest, and real, and a glimpse into the kind of dialogue that we'll be creating throughout the summit. Cori, I am so glad you are here. Let's begin. My first question. Many women over 50 feel something in the relationship no longer fits, even if nothing is wrong on the surface. From your experience, what are the earliest quiet signals that a woman has outgrown the way she has been relating?
Great question, Laureen. And first, just thank you so much for inviting me to be here and to be on the summit. So, the first signs, well, I think what happens is that a nudge becomes a scream, really, because, you know, we kind of know when things aren't working, but we think that we have to bury that because I think fundamentally we're afraid of being alone. And I will even be more direct and say being alone on our deathbed may be a fear. Sounds very direct, doesn't it? But so we stay in a relationship more out of fear than out of love.
Hmm.
And I think what happens is that you just reach a point where it becomes intolerable. I wish I could tell you that it's because you see something that excites you and you get pulled towards that, but usually it's the reverse. It just becomes stifling in some way. And I think that the patterns that start early in our relationships when we're younger, we
Mhm.
can ignore them. But as we get older, and really menopause is the threshold for this, we start becoming more truthful, more truthful about what we want, who we are, how we show up. And so pretending to be someone else's version of ourselves no longer works. That's it, basically.
And I feel such relief when I hear you say that. As a woman in her 60s, I just feel relief to hear that that's normal. This is normal to feel this way. And that is, I'm beginning to understand, right? Our power as we grow into our 60s and 70s. We don't have to be quiet anymore. We don't have to keep pretending that everything is great. And oh, we can ask for more. Oh,
Absolutely. And also, the thing is, let's face it, you and I might have been sort of traditionally more beautiful when we were younger.
mhm.
Now, when we're older, it demands something different from us because no matter how much makeup I put on, and I look young for my age, I'm 69, I'm not 39, I'm 69.
Mhm.
And so once you really accept and own that, and you stop trying to be something else that you're not, it makes the world of difference. And that's when, that's why menopause is like, I'm not gonna let this hold me back anymore. I'm not gonna let this idealized version of what a young woman is supposed to look like hold me back because it's not true. It's not true. We
No,
have huge value just by virtue of being older. And I do tire of, I was at a networking group today, and I tire of the narrative that someone overlooked me because I was old. You gotta let go of that story. You really have. It may be true. Well, then they're not your people. It's that simple. Just become more discerning about where you put your energy.
I agree absolutely with you on that. And so there is that sense of I'm not the young woman that I was. Um, and people don't relate to me in that same way anymore. But here's the really funny thing. I feel like I'm more beautiful today than I ever was in
There
my
you
entire life.
go.
Ha ha ha. Go figure. So, and I think it's because I just am more relaxed and more free about who I am and mostly can care less about what people think.
There you go. There you go. I don't care.
I just don't care anymore. And that there's such a
Yeah.
relief. As I said, there's such a freedom in that. I know
Yeah.
you work with a lot of women who they appear strong and capable, and yet they feel unseen and lonely sometimes inside their closest relationships. Do you notice them carrying that burden alone, without realizing the toll that it takes on them?
I don't know. Do I think so? I mean, I think that women have a tendency to share and talk. I
Mhm.
mean, where there's shame, of course, people are more reluctant to talk, but I think women are really good at creating community and connection. So that isn't to be, if I'm really honest, no, that isn't something I see so much. It's
Good.
not. I see that women want to talk about stuff. I think where the real problem is not whether they talk about it, it's whether they commit to taking action on it.
Mhm. I would agree with you on that as well. I see that in all things, right? And we can talk and talk and talk and talk and talk, and but then we also need to eventually do something. And
Yeah,
and sometimes it's not who we, it's not, it is about who we're talking to, because I can talk to my girlfriends, but I never
right,
actually talk to my partner.
right.
So it's also important who we talk to, but I think as well, it's critical that we do something. We can't just keep talking about it because then it just becomes some story we tell ourselves. Yeah,
Becomes an excuse to stay stuck.
absolutely. Yep. And I do think there is this powerful belief that deep love and fulfilling partnerships are behind us. Like I am a widow, and so it's like there's a part of me that just says, "Oh, let it go, Lauren. You don't need to look for love. You're doing just fine without it." But then there's another part of me that sometimes goes, "Oh, what would that be like to have that partnership, to have someone in my life who gets me, understands me, and supports me and loves me." What what do you tell women when they're doubting that they have that option in their life as their potential coach, as their coach?
That's a great question. So, what really struck me about what you were saying, Laureen, is you
Mhm.
said about looking for love. And it isn't about looking for love ever. It's about being available for
Mm.
love. Okay,
Mhm.
so there's a huge distinction there, and I think that it is available to everyone, but we have to ask ourselves, where are we being unavailable for love? And also, the flip side of that is we do have to continue to be discerning about who we allow into our orbit. Because as I said right from the get-go in this conversation, And I'll put it more bluntly this time. We don't have that much time, and I don't want to waste my time with people who, things that don't matter, and people who are not going to create meaningful or joyful or supportive or, you know, people I can't really relate to. Why would I do that in the limited time I have left? Be it 5, 10, 20, 30, maybe 40 years, who knows, if we're really lucky. Very unlikely, of course. But, looking is not the right approach because that implies that there's a lack in your life, and there is no lack. But I find with my partnership, it's an asset in my life. But if he walked away tomorrow, and my partner's much younger than me, by the way, if he walked away tomorrow, I'd be sad. But my life is so firmly grounded in what I've created, and I love my life so much, it wouldn't topple me.
Hmm. I love to hear that. And I also am going to say I love having conversations with you because you really bring clarity to things. Uh,
Thank you.
you really do. The difference between I'm looking for love and I'm available for love is huge.
It
And
is.
and I would say, in all honesty, I'm not as available as I think I am, right? I have shut some of that down in my life. So it causes me to now think about, oh, well, I have some things I need to think about. If I want that in my life, what do I want to do differently? Again, coming back to that whole idea of action, right? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
there we go.
Mm-hmm.
Last question. If a woman is listening today and she wants more honesty and more aliveness in her relationship, but she's not really sure what she should do, what would you invite her to do, to take on, to make that happen for her?
Well, obviously, I'm going to say have a conversation with me first because I think every situation is different. Um, I think if you can't have an honest conversation with your partner, isn't that a bit of a problem in the first place?
Hmm.
I think the biggest piece of advice I would give with respect to those conversations is try, oh God, there's so many things. My brain is just being flooded, but try to listen more than you talk. So try to, as Stephen Covey said, seek first to understand, then to be understood with no agenda. That's going to be the way that you're going to get the quickest results. I would also say that, oh God, what gets eroded far too quickly in relationships is the sense of gratitude and the remembering what's good about the relationship. And I think what happens is, and this is human nature, we get hooked on the negative and then we keep seeing the negative because we're hooked on it because our mind, our reticular activating system, big word, big words, but the part of your brain that's trained to seek something out will find it. So if you're going to look for the negative in your partner, you will definitely find it. If you try to look for the positive in your partner, you are more likely to find it unless there are no positives, and then it's time to say goodbye, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. All right. Some great advice, some great suggestions there in terms of our conversation. I want to say before we close to all of you who are watching, if this conversation has stirred something, a truth maybe that you have carried quietly, or a sense that you might want more honesty and more aliveness in your relationships, that is exactly the kind of conversation that we're going to be creating throughout the Next Chapter Summit. And Cori is one of our guest speakers, and she'll be there talking more about relationship development. This gathering, though, is something that I want to encourage you to attend. It's not about fixing or forcing your relationships, but it's going to be a conversation for us on many levels about helping us listen more to ourselves, listen more honestly, and choose and make and take action from a place of truth rather than a habit or lack. You will find a link to learn more about the summit, including dates and registration, in the conversation notes accompanying this video. Cori, thank you so much for being here today, for bringing some clarity, courage, and grounded honesty into our conversation today, and for agreeing to be a part of our summit. I cannot wait to delve more into this topic. For those of you listening, if you want more and you're ready to stop pretending that you don't, we would absolutely love to welcome you to the Next Chapter Summit. Thank you.